As we begin today's presentation on these two subdivisions and their economic impact, let's begin with a little historic context. To do that, I'm going to ask each of you to get your imaginations going and go back in time. So climb into your time machines and set the dials back about 8 to 10 years, back to the time when these subdivisions were first being conceived. 8 to 10 years may not seem like so long ago, but as you set those dials back, I think you'll remember that it really was a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. It was a very different galaxy than the one we live in today. So dial those time machine buttons backwards to 2006, 2005, even before. And at that time, the builder's mantra was, build it and they will come. Each large parcel of land left in our community was indeed someone's field of dreams. Demand for housing was huge and mortgages were easy to come by. Important to remember, besides these two subdivisions, there were numerous other subdivisions proposed and in the planning stages back then. Think of the extent of the inventory we were anticipating. Barrow Woods was on the drawing board, proposed to add a possible 150 more units in the form of condos, townhouses, and row houses. Willow Lake in Lake Forest, which is another subdivision that's being reinvented right now. There were townhouses proposed in downtown Lake Bluff and scattered site infill projects throughout both communities where homes were being torn down and new homes were being built in their place. So things were booming. To put it in numeric context, according to the MLS, which tracks real estate sales, in 2006 in Lake Forest, 325 properties sold, single family, attached homes, new construction, resale, and vacant land. So 325 properties sold in 2006. In Lake Bluff, and that was Lake Forest. In Lake Bluff, in the same year, 172 properties closed. What capsulized that error for me was the marketing approach that the original development team for one of the projects was using to launch their subdivision. Despite the large anticipated inventory from the other proposed projects, they were still so confident in their belief that the demand for the product would be incredibly high that they assigned lottery numbers and time slots for potential buyers who had expressed interest in learning more about the offerings. The buyers were expected to show up at an appointed time, select their home site on the spot, and sign on the dotted line at that appointment, lest they lose the chance to get their first choice home. So that was 8 years ago. And then the galaxy as we knew it imploded, essentially. Demand for new housing essentially disappeared for several years. However, since then, property sales have improved. So now fast forward the time machine to current day, and you may be surprised to know that according to the MLS, last year in 2013, sales of single-family attached housing and vacant land in both Lake Forest and Lake Bluff exceeded the number of units that we sold in 2006. In 2013, 425 properties closed in Lake Forest. So that's 100 more than we sold in 2006. And 193 properties closed in Lake Bluff, 20 more than our 2006 numbers. So with overall demand getting back on track and demand for new housing especially growing, there's a strong desire to pick up the pieces and reinvent those once proposed subdivisions in new ways to serve the changed needs of the current market and our community. And that's what each of these developers is in the process of doing. So now let's learn how each of these subdivisions is being reinvented and re-envisioned for the 2014 market and beyond. To begin, Robert Lisk, Hovnanian Homes, Amberley Woods.
Hello there. I really never anticipated I'd be on this side of the microphone with you guys. Nice to see you all again. As was mentioned, I've been living here for 11 years, and as a builder, been building in the area for nearly 25 years. So moving to Hovnanian Homes has been a little bit of a change for me. Many years ago, as Deb was saying, Amberley Woods, Conway Farms was all proposed. You may remember Rick Swanson was originally the developer for Amberley Woods, and unfortunately with change in economic conditions, that all came to a halt. If you're not familiar with Conway Farms and where Amberley Woods is, This being Route 60, the entrance into Conway Farms, and the first right-hand turn are going to the west. This will be Amberley Woods. People probably know it more as where Whole Foods is being proposed, and so ours is the development right below it. So all this was proposed and platted many years ago, and then just came to a standstill after 2 of the 24 homes were built, and finally we're going to have the opportunity to turn it into the asset that it was originally intended to be. The economic impact, obviously, in that development, we've got 24 homes, 2 were built, so we've got 22 more to go. With the property taxes, you're probably looking at $300,000 or $400,000. It'll finally go as was originally intended for all the city services, the county, the schools, fire department. Everything that probably years ago expansions were made in anticipation of the new families, but money hasn't been being received because of the taxes. Also, at the time, there was a special assessment that would be going to the high school, and that hasn't been being received. So the city and the high school in particular can look forward to beginning to receive those once this development is built out. But those are the big dollars. Some smaller ones, the big dollars really don't impact you or me specifically, but in smaller ways. When Hovnanian did originally purchase the property for legal representation, they went to Debbie Haddad, and so she represented them with the purchase of the home. Then Hovnanian tried to use their corporate architecture to get through Lake Forest Building Review Board, and they were handily shown the door. So in order to make things go a little bit more easily, they hired the Diana Melikar's office for her experience and expertise and knowledge of the Building Review Board. So her firm was immediately hired and had some of the economic impact of it. And on a very personal note, although I've been building in the area for many years, during the downturn, things have been tough for me too. And it was nice to have Hovnanian come to me because of my experience of building in Lake Forest. With many of you also being realtors, hopefully each of you will have the opportunity to have some financial impact from it. We've got 22 homes. Hopefully there'll be 22 of you that'll be receiving commissions from the initial sales of those and subsequent sales of those as we go on. And obviously with all those sales, the city has its 0.4% transfer tax on the initial sale of it and every other subsequent sale. So the city will have 22 more opportunities out there that they'll be receiving money on a regular basis. And also, new homes, in my impression, are always selling at a premium. I don't know about all of you, but certainly my home in Lake Forest is not valued at what it was back in 2007. And we don't have, I haven't seen enough comp sales that would raise the value of my house. By having 22 homes in Amberley Woods, we'll have 3,300, 3,400 square foot homes that hopefully you'll be happy to be able to be used as comps for the sale of your house, for the refinancing of house, if you happen to be in that area. So hopefully that'll be a benefit. It may work against you if it ends up raising your property tax, but then hopefully you can also hire some of the local companies to help you appeal your property tax and put them to work. For me, stating the obvious, you've got 22 new families that'll be in there that are going to be having all the same living expenses that we all do, whether it's at the grocery stores or your local professionals, your bankers, retail shops, private schools, churches, and other service providers. Those are the obvious places where you're going to see money being spent or benefits. I think the less obvious is, to me, what the seeing things get back to normal as I view it. Things, as Deb was saying, in everybody's impression, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, slowed down. And I know for me and my family, budgets became tighter, we spent less, we conserved more. And as I drive around as a builder, maybe it is because I'm a builder, but as I see more construction fencing going up, as I see more Tyvek on buildings, more pink red cedar, cedar roofs that I know are new construction, That to me, I derive optimism from that. That to me is progress. That to me is getting back to normal. And for me, as things become normal, I begin to think about the things that I haven't indulged in over the years, things that I'd like to do, things that I'd like to own, and I become a little bit more willing to spend money, and spending money from local retailers. So that to me becomes the intangible. As you begin to feel more optimistic as the site of new construction goes on. Hopefully, as a real estate professional, people will be more anxious to finally sell their house because they feel like they can get what they want for it, and other things will, the cycle of spending will begin again just by having more optimism. That's really all that I have to say about the economic. I want to just flip through this. We are going to be building. We've got essentially 6 different floor plans. They're all 3,400 square foot homes. Diana Melikar's office did these. They're kind of an English cottage design. There's all different combinations of materials that could be used, but I'll just flip through these so that you see what it is that was originally proposed. We did get final plans as of last night. We'll hopefully apply for a permit within the next couple weeks in order to build a model home. So hopefully sometime in July we'll get started on those. So once we get started on the model home, we'll be selling out of the model home and hopefully be out there for another 2 years building these homes in Amberley Woods. Thank you.